Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Haas from nichepursuits.com. And of course, I have with me Perrin. Perrin, how you doing?
Pretty good. How's it going, everybody?
Awesome. Yep. We are just sitting here talking about our website portfolio and how things have been going over the past month or so. And so today on the podcast, we actually want to go over our August income report. And more than just the income report on a couple of sites that I purchased, we also want to review new sites that I've purchased and an update on our authority project that we've been working on here for a little bit.
That's right.
And so for those that have been listening to the podcast or reading the blog, they know that I've been covering two sites in particular that I purchased back in January of this year and updating them monthly on how much they've been earning and what I've been doing and other practices that I've been utilizing to increase the traffic to the sites. And so I'm going to quickly go over the earnings of those two particular sites and then jump into even bigger projects that we have and things that are coming down the pipeline. And part of the reason also we like doing these podcasts, sort of these reflective podcasts, these personal business podcasts where we don't have an interviewee on the show with us, is to kind of, for Perrin and I to talk through our own business, but also to give you, the listener, something that you can latch onto and realize that, hey, we're going through the steps here. We're in the trenches, still building out websites on our own. And so hopefully that makes our advice a little bit more valuable because we're practicing these things. We're not just talking about these things.
And failing sometimes, you know?
Yep.
And learning along the way. And we're having some successes and stuff, but it's important to talk about the stuff that's just not working because we have definitely experienced our share of that.
Yep, we have indeed. And so good point there. So let's jump right into it. Basically, I purchased a site that is monetized with Google AdSense back in January of this year, paid about $5,000 for it. And it's been earning around $329, $330 a month for the past couple of months. This month we saw a nice uptick in that by about $40. And so the earnings are up by about 10% or so on that site. And, I'm really happy with the way things have gone with this site. Because as I look at the traffic trend, the traffic has really increased quite a bit since we purchased the site. And in fact, it's pretty much doubled in amount of traffic coming to the site. It's getting about 6,000 visitors a month back in January, and now at just over 12,000 visitors in the month. So
and I didn't realize that. When you look at analytics on a daily basis, it just seems like it's going up and down, up and down, up and down. But it kind of pays to back away and look at it on, over the last 6 or 7 months. And I really didn't realize how well we'd done traffic-wise with this site.
Yeah, same. I didn't notice that until I put this chart up, and I was like, wow, holy cow, we really have doubled the traffic. And so we've done very well. The reasons for that is mostly just, again, improving rankings in Google. We've slowly been moving up for different long-tail keywords up in Google, and that's come not through any sort of magical or mystical practices, just simply adding new content based on relevant, related long-tail keywords and doing some basic link building. And that's about it, really.
Very basic, too.
Yeah.
We weren't going out and building hundreds of links or anything. We probably built a handful of links to this site and added 30 articles or something.
Mm-hmm.
And because the site was aged and already doing well, Google picked it right up. And so we've basically doubled the traffic. And that's good and bad news, because you would think that if we doubled the traffic, we would have also doubled the earnings, which
Right.
is the original idea, and we just haven't seen that.
Yeah, so that is the tough thing to look at is go, okay, well, why aren't the earnings increasing linearly with the traffic increase? And I don't know if I have a good answer for that. Part of it is maybe we haven't dialed in our ad placement quite as well as perhaps we could. And so I actually did some things just a few days ago to try to increase, got a little bit more aggressive with the ad placement. We'll see if that's too aggressive. Hopefully not. Hopefully the traffic continues to come in and we just see a higher click-through rate. The other part of it could be that back when I first purchased the site, it seemed like maybe I was getting a little bit higher earnings per click. And so I don't know if maybe it was a seasonal type thing where advertisers are just paying high dollar amounts for each click. And so that could be maybe our earnings are going to increase quite a bit towards the end of the beginning of this year. And so, yeah, I don't have an answer, but yeah, hopefully we can get that earnings to be related to the amount of increase in traffic as well.
Yep. We'll kind of just have to wait and see with this one because you don't want to just abandon ship because you don't see the earnings going up. If you see a positive trend somewhere, I think we kind of want to hang on to this one for a little while. And I think we're going to talk about this in a future blog post, but this isn't making really enough money for us to put tons of resources into, but we're seeing positive things with the fairly minimal amount of work that we've done. Mm-hmm. So I think we're encouraged enough to kind of see where it goes on this one. Not like our other site that we're going to talk about here in a second.
That's right. It is. I mean, it's going to be a good return for our money. There's no doubt about that. But it isn't this huge site that's going to, make me sock away a ton of money into my retirement fund or anything like that. So let's go ahead and talk about that other site, the Pinterest site. Again, this is a site that I bought for about $2,100. Exactly $2,100 back in January of this year, and it gets most of its traffic from Pinterest. The earnings were actually down about $30 this month, and that is directly because of the decrease in traffic. So it earned about $270 in August. Saw a fairly sizable decrease in traffic as well, and boy, it's just been a headache trying to get the Pinterest traffic figured out, dialed in. We've had a lot of problems related to this site.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about this particular site now. If I'm tired of talking about it and thinking about it, I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about it. But it's a good lesson, and I think at this point we're just about done with the site.
Yeah, pretty much. Again, just because there's not a ton of upside potential. I mean, even if we quadrupled the earnings here, yeah, that'd be great, but it's still not going to have a very big impact on my overall portfolio. It's making a couple $100 a month. That's great. I've learned a lot through this process, but basically I have 2 steps left on this site. One, I want to get the pinning of images dialed in for this site, and we found a Chrome extension. Perrin went out and actually found that, and it just works really well. It's called the Pin It button from Chrome, the Chrome Web Store. It's free, just lets you pin images very quickly. So I've got a virtual assistant that is going to go back and pin a bunch of our images. Hopefully we can get the traffic back up just a little bit, and then the second step, I'm going to just sell the site. Just get rid of it.
So that's those are ones that our listeners have probably heard about.
Yep.
Site 1 and Site 2, both are in a couple $100, and that was kind of us jumping into the pool of site buying.
Exactly.
And we knew going in that they were more or less learning vehicles for us, but after that, we've made some pretty exciting purchases.
Yeah, definitely. And let's jump into those. So we have Site 3 and Site 4 to present to you. Again, I'm not revealing the domain names, but so Site 3 is a site that is earning quite a bit more every month.
Yeah, this one's cool.
Yeah, this one is very exciting because not only did we buy it, well, okay, so this is a site that I bought in May of this year, so just a few months ago, and I purchased this privately through somebody that contacted me from my blog, and it was earning about $1,700, $1,800 a month when I purchased it. We've done quite a bit to the site as far as we went through the articles and edited and made them sound a little bit better. Some of the English wasn't quite right on a few of the articles. Mm-hmm. We added several articles just, again, based on long-tail research. I rearranged the ad. Actually, I didn't rearrange the ads very much, just a little bit. And we've seen some nice increase in traffic, but we've seen a ton of increase in earnings. So it went from $1,800 a month when I bought it to now just over $3,400 in earnings in August.
And climbing.
And climbing, yes. September is looking like it should be even more.
So I think here's a lesson for this. This was one of those light bulb moments for me. And it's funny because a lot of times when we're going back and rehashing our business and I'm talking about these light bulb moments, they seem like such common sense. But, when you're in there, in the trenches, maybe you have tunnel vision and you're trying to figure out how to make a buck, it can be hard. But here was a light bulb moment for me. For the first AdSense site that we talked about that we like, that's increasing in traffic but not earnings. And for this new one that we bought, we did about the same amount of work.
Yep.
Except one site was already worth a lot more than the other site. And so with one site, it has increased a little bit. We made a tiny bit more money. But for the same amount of work, the same amount of resources invested, we have increased this new site by almost double, So for the same amount of work and the same amount of resources, if you're putting that into a site that already makes more money, the return on your investment for those resources is much, much, much higher. I mean, probably by an order of magnitude. It is so much higher and so much more valuable. And in the end, checking the analytics, checking the the earnings is so much more fun,
Yep, great point. It just, the amount of time and effort is, like you said, it's about the same, but we're getting so much more impact with this Site 3, this bigger site. And just so people are aware, the earnings are fairly evenly distributed between Amazon earnings and AdSense earnings. In August earned about $2,100 in Amazon and about $1,300 in Google AdSense earnings. And it's a great site. It's still increasing. And it's one of those sites that I'm thinking is going to have a huge, like, November, December when, holiday season comes around. So I hope to just see it increase quite a bit until the end of the year.
Yeah, that particular site should have 3 major seasons, the holidays and then 2 other seasons.
Right.
So it should be a really good performer for us. Right now, it's the biggest site in our portfolio. I mean, the ones that I manage anyway, since I started working. And it's just been a really big success, especially considering how many, man hours and dollars we put into it after purchasing it, which isn't a ton, It's really not.
Yeah, and I guess I'll dive into this a little bit. I was just trying to think of other takeaways maybe from this site. It's been a huge success. Again, we didn't do anything super out of the box other than what we just mentioned, adding lots of great content, building a few links, and doing those sorts of things has just increased the traffic. Google likes the site. But another point that I'll make with this site and then Site 4 that I'm about to talk about is that I was able to negotiate really great purchase price on both of them.
Yeah.
And by doing that, both of them I bought for, roughly 10 times earnings. Whereas, on the Empire Flippers, you can sell for 20 times earnings. So I bought the site for relatively cheap, and that just gives us a huge cushion as far as we're not quite as worried. Like, even if this site never increased in earnings, it would be very profitable. I could turn around and double my money tomorrow.
Yeah, totally. And what you said is also a good point. A couple sentences back is that we didn't do anything fancy. And we talked about this when we had only bought 2 sites earlier in the year, the first AdSense site and the Pinterest site, where we were like, man, we bought a site that gets all its traffic from Pinterest, and we don't know anything about Pinterest, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So with a site that's been such a huge success, what we're calling Site 3, we were looking specifically for a site that was set up in the way that we know how to do business, which is generating organic traffic from content and, primed to get some extra links. And when we bought it, that's what we did. We added content based on keyword research, which is one of the things we do really well. And we added a couple links. And I think that's one of the reasons it was so successful, because it was set up to do business in the way that we know how to do business.
Right. And that is maybe a good distinction. I say that we didn't do anything fancy, but I guess I do have years and years of experience building out content-based websites. I'm familiar with search engines. I'm great at keyword research. That's what I do. That's what I'm comfortable with. That may not be the case for everybody. So maybe I'm going to backtrack on what I said just a little bit. It maybe isn't easy to everybody out there, but for Perrin and I, it's well within our comfort zone, and it's been a big success for us.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a good lesson too.
Mm-hmm.
If you know e-commerce, go buy e-commerce sites. There are plenty of them out there, and we stay away from them because that's not what we know.
Yeah.
Or if you really know social media, go buy a Facebook-driven site. And so that was a good lesson that we learned with the second site, and we executed on in the third site, and it worked out.
Yep, definitely. And then Site 4 as well. I just made a purchase about a week ago, actually, is when it closed officially. And this is a site that I purchased through Flippa. And again, was able to negotiate a great price for that. This is a bigger site as far as traffic. It gets about 5,000 unique visitors a day, a little bit over that actually, but that gives people an idea of the terms of size that we're talking about. And it was earning about $1,900 a month in Google AdSense when I purchased it. So I don't have a lot to report on that other than we've added this great site to our portfolio, earning about $2,000 a month. And we're going to do the exact same process that we did with Site 3, just adding new content, keyword research, and maybe building some basic links to hopefully grow it.
Yeah, for sure. And, the thing is, it shows you how nice it is to have capital to work with.
For sure.
Because we've spent some money, and man, is it nice to have cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
Like we bought ourselves some cash flow, and to see those numbers coming in and knowing that we have money to work with every month from the sites we purchased is really awesome.
Yeah, it really is. It gives us that cash flow, like you said. We've got this cushion built in because we bought them for a great price. So if we ever need to sell for any reason, we can do that right away. And so it's a model that's working well for us right now. And I hope that it will continue to do so. But that's where we are with that right now.
Yeah, and I think we're going to go in depth probably in not the next podcast published, because that'll be an interview, but probably in the podcast after that, we're going to be talking a lot about this model more in depth.
Yep, for sure. And maybe quite a bit more. I don't know, depending on the feedback, comments, how well it's received. If people want to hear even more details on different aspects of the business, I can dive into, and we can do that. So let's talk about our authority project here. Perrin and I have been working really hard on a new authority site that we began just a couple of months ago, a month and a half ago, something like that. And again, the idea is what we're doing is we picked a market that we know there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of potential, a lot of things that we could do with this site. It's a content-based site. We are producing one almost 3,000 word article a day on different topics or on different keywords within our niche, and producing some news articles as well. So we've got this very large content-based site. There's already, well, with the news articles, there's already hundreds of articles on the site itself. And now we're trying to go out and get some links. We've made the conscious decision that we're not going to be doing any real gray hat, black hat type stuff. We're going to stick with a more white hat link building approach.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is doing some outreach and connecting with others. So why don't you tell us how that's going a little bit, Perrin, since you're managing most of that process?
Yeah, so outreach is a really funny thing because the way we are used to building links, which is buying them from services or setting up a PBN or paying a PBN service or buying Web 2.0s, they're super, super fast. You basically pay money or you write an article and send it to somebody in a PBN network, and then you see the link like that day. Outreach is so much slower than that. It's very difficult to handle if you're someone like me who's like, I want to see stuff done right now. That's just my personality. So it's kind of tough. And it's difficult to learn how to manage a process that is much more fluid, where you're not just dealing with a cause and effect. I do this and then I get a link. It's much more of a relationship building. I'm going to send out X number of emails. I'm going to get a percentage of those will respond to me. And then after that, I'm going to have to talk to these people a couple more times. Mm-hmm. And then maybe after 6 or 7 emails, I'm going to get a link somewhere. Right.
Right.
So when we started this, our goal was to get 30 links a month, and it took me, about a month to realize that that is really, really tough to do unless I'm spending almost all of my time outreaching. However, it's kind of okay because the outreach that we have done has yielded few links, but spectacular links. So we've gotten links on a couple universities, some with a page authority as high as like 58 or 60. So that's a do follow link on a EDU domain with a page authority of 60. Like, that is just absolutely massive authority.
Huge.
And we've also got a link on the Huffington Post, which is really cool.
Yep.
So it was easy for me to get discouraged, but then when the links did start coming in, and that's like, out of the insane number of people I'm reaching out to, like 100 or 200 personalized emails so far, the 2% or whatever it is that do respond, the links are so good that it's easy to get remotivated. So,
yep.
We of course probably won't see the benefits of that for quite some time because the links are like, the link velocity is so much slower, and we're not link building specific pages. I mean, we are using some for outreach, but we're not link building money pages or anything. So it's going to take some time for the link juice to sort of dissipate through the site and that kind of thing. But it has been successful, and I think it's a good first try. Like, this is the first try we've ever tried to build first time we've ever tried to build a site with outreach, and it's been a really cool learning experience, and it has worked. So now we just have to figure out how to refine it and increase the conversion rates and possibly scale it.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, you pretty much nailed it there. It's just a ton of work, but we've seen some great links, some great results, not in quantity, but in quality. And just as a reminder to everybody out there listening, we're taking this as a long-term approach. This is a long-term site. We're not expecting it to be earning huge amounts of money in 6 months from now, but a year from now, we're hoping to start seeing some great traffic. So, we're okay with that. We're only seeing a few links, but we think in time, as we consistently add content, we think that Google's just going to start latching onto that content more and more as we do a little bit of outreach, more content, and hopefully at the end of the day, we're ranking for lots of things and building a nice little business here.
Yeah, for sure. And to give people an idea of what that's going to look like, we're really swinging for the fences. At the end of this year, or this time next year rather, so end of the summer 2015, the site should have thousands of posts and like 300 really long, detailed, super well researched, top tier writing money posts that are like 3,000 words long, you know?
Right.
And hopefully we will have maybe 100 links that will match the quality that we have gotten last month. So even if we're not earning money a year from now, the asset will certainly be on its way to generating lots of traffic and stuff.
Yeah. So how much money have we made to date on this site?
I don't think any.
Nope.
Exactly zero.
Exactly $0.00. And I just bring that up because we're not even concerned with monetization at this point. There's no possible way we could make money. There's no ads on our site. We're not selling any products. We are getting some traffic, but we're not selling anything at this point. But that is going to change. Our initial plan to make money is a Kindle ebook. And Perrin is in the process of writing that out and is getting pretty close to finishing that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm about a third of the way through, so probably not close, but it'll definitely be done this month, and then we'll have to get some art and stuff. So probably launch in September or the first week of September or something.
Or October.
Or October, depending on what a launch schedule will look like, and we're talking to people about that. But that's going to be one of the first pieces of profit that we see with the site for sure.
Yeah, so it'll be, like Perrin said, at least probably a month before we even try to make some money on the site. We're going to hopefully build up a small email list. I'm going to dabble into some paid traffic to build up a little email list so that we can launch the Kindle ebook properly. And when we do that, we'll see what happens. But the idea here is not to just write one ebook and be done, but on a consistent basis, whatever schedule we figure that out, every couple of months or something, coming out with a new ebook, Kindle ebook, so that we can sell to our existing list and our growing audience. And again, 12 months from now, we'll maybe have half a dozen ebooks that we're selling, and hopefully our email list will be growing. And anyways, you can see what will happen there to our business, hopefully. So that's the idea. Again, we're so early on, but we like to talk about it because it probably will become a subject that we talk more and more about as we have real live numbers and other things to share.
Yeah, and we're learning so much,
Yep.
We're learning. I mean, when we started doing outreach for the site, I had never done it before. So a lot of the time was spent just researching and talking to people and, getting advice, and also just throwing caution to the wind and jumping into the deep end and trying to do outreach, So it's going to be an experience. And we are picking kind of three basic strategies here, which is advice we got from some other authority site builders, which is, not to try to do everything, but to try to pick a couple strategies and do them really well. So for us, that's going to be lots of content, lots of really fantastic content, and some basic link building, which is what we always do. So organic traffic. Then we're going to try to sell an ebook. And also we are trying to use paid traffic or paid ads to build an email list. So right now, those are our three main tactics to get this to a true authority site in about 12 months.
Yep, absolutely. And, I guess just going over this process and discussing it with people gives those listening a good idea of, what it does take to build a large authority site. It's not something that you can just throw together, and people have probably read sales copy or, other places, on the internet where they are reading about how quickly you can do things and make all kinds of money quick. That doesn't really exist in, at least for what we're doing here. And everybody that we've talked to is very similar that's built properties out that we hope to emulate. It takes time. It's just a lot of work. There's no big secrets, but there is a huge learning curve. So a lot of things that you need to learn, and I guess that's the secret, is just that, hey, you got to learn how to do it. You can't have all the knowledge instantly. But that's where we're at for the project. I'm excited about it. It's slow, but we can slowly see the increase in different metrics like traffic and some links and other things that we're moving along with. So very exciting.
Yeah, and isn't such a great niche, and the site's competitors are just killing it. So we have a good feeling about it.
Yep, absolutely. So, there you go. That's kind of a review of the Niche Pursuits business, if you will, kind of a part of our website portfolio, a quick review of what we're doing right now, where we're spending our time, how it's going, and everything related to that. So, any last parting words of wisdom, Perrin, that you'd like to share with anybody?
I don't think so. You're going to get a lot more words of wisdom from our next podcast, I think. So keep an ear out for that one.
Yep. Yes, indeed. We did a great interview. I won't reveal it just yet, but be sure to tune in next week for when we release that. We have a great one. And another great interview is scheduled, actually, that we're going to be conducting tomorrow with somebody else. So should have some great guests on the podcast, some great episodes that we release here real soon. So anyways, thanks everybody for listening again to the Niche Pursuits podcast. Please stop by nichepursuits.com if you read the blog posts and join the comments there. Otherwise, best of luck in your business, and thanks a lot.